Hey everybody, thanks for showing up tonight. I'm Joe Meschede. I'm the Civic Arts Coordinator for Burning Man. I'm gonna start with a little brief kickover to Christopher Breedlove, who runs our global activation team. He's gonna tell you a little bit about just this new venture and then kick it back to me and I'll go from there.
Cool, thanks Joe. Hey everybody, my name is Christopher Breedlove, and like I said, I work with Joe around the civic activation teams at Burning Man. And just a real quick kind of intro to why we're doing this call today is right now we're exploring in a lot of ways, different ways that we can expand out and talk about what's happening across the different Burning Man networks in different ways. And it's not only about how to talk about things in different ways, but it's also to really kind of reach across the aisles of the different kind of worlds of Burning Man, which is sometimes BWB or theme camps or volunteer teams, and having larger conversations around these things. And so there's going to be 6 of these. The idea is that we want to do one every other week, kind of around a different subject area. And so I'm really thankful to Joe for choosing to be our first experiment in this for art activation. And we plan on having conversations around community activation, civic activation, ecosystem activation, and event activation. And so that's kind of the idea. And you guys are all here for the first experiment. And I'm really excited because we have some great guests. So Joe, take it away. And thanks for being brave and doing this.
Awesome. Thanks, Christopher. Yeah, no better guinea pig than art people. We like to do weird stuff. So again, thank you all for being here. This is our first time trying this. We're really interested in your feedback and using this platform for the community to share about what you're interested in doing and to learn from each other. So give us your ideas. I'm going to share a little bit more about that, where you can, how we can connect after the event. But we'd love to hear what you think of this and what you'd like to see more of. That leads me to introducing Sage Bandicoot, who is going to be managing all of our questions. She'll filter them up to me and I'll try to get as many answered as we can. Sage, if you want to say anything or just wave.
Hi guys, I'm Sage Bandicoot. Joe pretty much covered it, but thank you all for being here.
Thanks for being here, Sage. What else do I have for you? Nothing. We're going to get right into it. This is round one. I'm going to first start with Rbhu Engineering. The principals of Rbhu are Selinda Martinez and Ali Lahijanian. Oh, I knew I was going to flub it. I've been working on that all day.
That's a tough one.
So these are 2 amazing people. They have been engineers for a lot of our favorite art projects that have gone to BRC, and they also engineer for the Man itself. I've had the pleasure of working with them for a number of projects around the Bay Area. They've also collaborated with our other speakers at Building 180. So I'm going to let Ali and Selinda take it away.
Hey, thanks, Joe. Thanks for the really warm welcome. And hi, everybody. I'm Selinda, and I'm just going to give you a little bit more information about Rbhu for those of you who aren't familiar with us. Ali and I started Rbhu 6 years ago in 2014. We'd actually been engineering art pieces before that. We've engineered, the very first one was Bliss Dance, who's right here, 45-foot tall sculpture of a naked woman dancing on one foot. And from there, she was debuted in 2010. And from there, we have just been doing engineering on the side and then realized really quickly that there was a strong need for engineering art pieces actually. And so we were really happy to fill in those gaps since it's something that we're really passionate about and really love doing. And since then, in the 6 years, we've become a team of 5 engineers with 1 intern. We've engineered over 100 sculptures that range between 6 and 100 feet tall. As Joe mentioned, we've been lucky enough to engineer the man base since 2017 and have worked on a couple temples as well. We work on a lot of public art pieces all around the country. And we just try to do our best job of assisting artists in whichever way we can. So it's been a really beautiful journey these past 6 years, and I'm course, COVID hit, which on that, I'll pass the reins over to Ali to let you know how COVID has affected us and what we've done in response.
Yeah, hello everyone. Ali, I'm honored to be here and talking to you all. This is amazing. So yeah, we all been hit by COVID. I remember I was flying back from Colorado for a site visit, and then I was in the airplane and I saw people wearing masks. I'm like, what? I thought we were not supposed to wear masks. I thought the masks were for health workers. And I came back, and 2 days later, everything got shut down, all events, and then all our projects also got shut down and got on pause. So there was that moment of reality hitting that, what did I do? Like, what's happening? So as every day was going on, we were emotional roller coaster for all of us at Rbhu. So one of the things I think, like, yeah, is a horrible thing that has happened, but looking at bright side, there are some good things that came out of it too. So one of the good things was that at Rbhu, we decided to do half an hour call at the beginning to just talk about COVID, our feelings, how are we doing? And then we realized that half an hour was not enough. So we ended up doing an hour call, and we'll go around the circle and we talk about our feeling and emotion. And it was really interesting how all of us would go through roller coasters. Like one week I was panicking, like I couldn't breathe, and some other week some other person. So it was very interesting, and we were actually brought us very close together. We do now on regular basis the COVID fun talks to just kind of we changed the name, so it makes us feel a little bit more playful, as we all Burning Man people do play with names to make things a little bit easy to digest. Yeah, so we do 10 minutes, 15 minutes of meditation every day. Then we talk about emotions and feelings, and now we're also talking about design. So we're really honored and happy that this came to life. And then we were talking and we realized, okay, so what do we want to do as a company? How do we want to see the change? They say you should be the change you want to see in the world. And then we were like, okay, we should give back. We should figure out how we can do this. So we came up with the Rbhu Gives Back program to give back to our community of artists, and that was a very effective effort that we ended up getting 80 applications from artists, and we realized how this has affected our community and how serious this is. So that was a very eye-opening sort of movement, which I suppose we can get into it more later if you're all interested. So yeah, and also then after COVID, Black Lives Matter movement gained more momentum, which as a person of color, I'm pretty happy about it, to be honest, to talk about these things more openly. So yeah, we've done also a bunch of work in that area as well, in social media. And honestly, we have a few artists that are Black, and we sent our questions to them, and there are questions that we could talk about them later, but we're still also, we want to know more about this movement, and we want to understand how we can get involved. So if you all have any input for us, please let us know. All right, Joe, I'll pass that to you.
Thanks, Ali. All right, we're going to kick it to Meredith now from Building 180. Meredith is one half of the partnership of Building 180. We're missing Shannon Riley, one of the other founders, but she was unfortunately had to deal with some family issues. But yeah, Building 180, they have been putting art all over the world for the last, 3 years now?
3 or 4 about, yeah.
Yeah, we met actually project managing for Peter Hudson on Playa, and have kept up ever since. You've done a number of projects and commissions managed across the world, and now have pivoted to supporting artists during COVID and Black Lives Matter. I'm just going to let you take it from here.
Hey everyone, and thanks, Joe. Yes, as Joe mentioned, Building 180 has been putting art around the world for about 4 years. We got our start with Burning Man at a place called Building 180, which was on Treasure Island, which is where Peter Hudson and Marco Cochran and Katie Boynton and a lot of other artists had their studio space. And that's where Shannon, Riley, and myself met each other, both apprenticing under both Peter and Marco as volunteers. And we both kept seeing like artists have their sculptures in the corner of warehouses, and was just so amazingly devastating that we wanted to spend our efforts of supporting artists and managing their work of like what could happen after Playa and how do you get these things that were so inspirational on Playa seen in the real world, and also, you know, find a way to connect artists with other opportunities. So we kind of used our business sense and our, you know, managerial experience to help start managing artists, to connect them to clients that we had and get their work out there to pitch to people, and yeah, really just kind of figure out ways to really support artists and manage their work. We also run an artist in residency program in the South, 2 of them in the South Bay, and really are on a mission to help artists on Playa and off Playa. We sometimes project manage, you know, work, as Joe said, on Playa, and then we also will take pieces from Playa and help artists do the production off Playa too. So it's kind of a full gamut of doing public art, events, interior design. People and clients come to us with a really wide array of needs, and then we help curate their experiences and execute the production for them. It's been really rewarding, and it's really fun working with amazing genius artists all the time. And yeah, when COVID hit, our jobs were also pretty paused. Obviously, art is a afterthought for a lot of big budget projects and developments, as I'm sure you guys are all aware. And we wanted to put our efforts towards supporting artists. And the one way we saw that happening was that there was a lot of boards going up on businesses in the Bay Area. And with those boards, we thought about if we could put murals onto the boards. So Building 180 partnered with a nonprofit called Art for Civil Discourse, and we launched a fundraiser so that we could accept funds through Intersection for the Arts to pay artists to paint murals on boarded storefronts across the Bay Area. And to date, we've done just shy of 100 murals in the Bay, which is in under 4 months. So averaging about 1 mural a day. And we are paying for artists for time and materials, modest stipends, but artists were really inspired to keep going out and to create work, which is really amazing. And San Francisco is a very difficult place to make public art, and there's a lot of red tape to make public art anywhere anyway, but just this kind of gave us a gateway to make an impact in the Bay without having to kind of jump through all of these hoops. And artists were really supported by the funds that we were able to provide, and really inspired that they were able to create public art in a ways that they weren't able to do previously. So it was really exciting. It's slowing down. We're thinking about capping the murals at 100 murals. But before we did that, obviously the world has shifted quite a bit, and Black Lives Matter has come to the forefront, which is an amazing opportunity to pivot and support artists and other organizations in ways that we didn't know how to before, or that we weren't thinking about before. And it's really humbling to know that we can do better, and we've been wanting to do better, and we are now diverting any other funds that we've gotten towards to center Black artists and to center their narratives and voices during this time. Focusing on Black-owned businesses, Black artists, Indigenous artists, and of course, there's the intersection of Pride happening at the same time in June with everything going on, and how do you support marginalized voices generally while centering Black artists too. It's been a really, again, rewarding and humbling experience just to be able to have conversations with people that you wouldn't normally have, and we're extremely humbled and excited to be a part of the conversation to kind of move things into the next level. One of the ways we've been doing that is by actually the Burning Man camp, the Boz bus had reached out. They were very instrumental in doing and using the bus during Black Lives Matter's protests. So we partnered with them to, do matched funding to fund Black artists and trans and queer artists to paint the bus, and then also use the matching to be able to fund organizations in Oakland, such as Endeavors, who's the activism arm of Good Mother Gallery in Oakland. And they were behind the big Black Lives Matter mural in Oakland, and also with queer arts for the All Black Trans Lives Matter around Lake Merritt. So kind of diverting funds without using our platform for good is a challenge without like centering ourselves. So we're really open to exploring how to do that better with just being facilitators as opposed to like centering ourselves. So we're here to support artists and people of color and Black artists, and really know that we can do better. And here we are.
Love it. Thanks, Meredith. I think both Rbhu and Building 180 have some images of work that they've supported for the COVID relief and Black Lives Matter. I don't know if we want to go through those at the same, like before we kind of roll through questions. Also, if folks want to put questions into the chat, Sage is going to be filtering those to me as well. I don't know, Meredith, do you want to keep going a little bit? And just since you're hot off of the your spiel, and just show like at least the Lake Merritt mural?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I have it actually. Let me share my screen. Let's see. This was the mural that we helped to fund through Boz. And again, this was with Queer Arts running the production of this mural, and Endeavors from Good Mother Gallery doing the full production in collaboration with Queer Arts in Oakland. And it reads All Black, Trans, Queer, Non-Binary, Women's, Disabled, Imprisoned Lives Matter. So a really beautiful statement. And again, don't want to like take credit for it. This is really that we wanted to fund organizations, which is something that we're exploring and doing to raise the money via our platform, which has gained so much traction. We fundraised over $80,000 to do the murals in the Bay Area, and yeah, putting that money towards goods to organizations that are already doing this work on the ground is really important to us, as we don't need to lead everything. We can just pass it off to people who know what they're doing already, and give them the chance to kind of run with the things that they know how to do best. So we want to see ourselves as facilitators in this movement and not center ourselves in this movement. And that can be by the connections that we have or the funding that we are able to raise, and just extending that to people who need it for projects that are really worthwhile, such as this one. We're also doing some collaborations with East Oakland to do a mural in our food desert area that will be called Soul Park, paying artists to do a big mural there, which will be a community mural as well. And I can kind of flip backwards too. This is the Boz bus, of course. And this is Matt Lee Hurd on the right, who is a Black artist who painted a beautiful mural in Oakland after the protests started. And on the left is a photo from Endeavor's Instagram page, which is showing their Black Lives Matter mural. But yeah, we're really humbled and grateful to be able to have these conversations with people.
I have been curious about structurally your choice. Building 180 is a for-profit
Yes.
company, and then you pivoted for Paint the Void to create a 501c3, correct?
Art for Civil Discourse is the 501c3 that we partnered with. So we were able to accept funds through that organization and their relationship with Art for Civil Discourse, with Intersection for the Arts, who's their fiscal sponsor. And then Building 180 has the production experience to be able to, mobilize artists on the ground and make sure that they have the correct, legal paperwork and insurance covering. And it was really a way for us to be able to accept funds and be able to funnel them quickly to artists. As a for-profit company, you can't really accept larger donations or grant money from a lot of organizations. They need the tax write-off. So for us, it was pretty crucial to be able to partner with someone to be able to raise and accept money.
Right. And for those that don't understand fiscal sponsorship, can you explain a little bit more, like the tax benefits of that?
Yeah, so the fiscal sponsorship, they take a fee from any money raised. Intersection takes a 10% fee, and that's to do all the administration of paperwork. As a nonprofit, you have to have everything reported really down to a T, and they take care of all of the administrative work and also cut the checks that go to the artists as well. So it's a matter of like having support for being able to accept money through the 501c3, and then they help divert the funds and kind of hold the money into in a safe bank to distribute like it within the means of or legalities of having a 501c3.
Mm-hmm. And can you talk a little bit more about like Building 180's reputation and your connections were part of what made it easy to raise the funds as a pass through, right?
Well, I mean, again, like this partnership was really crucial for the fundraising. I think that where we were really instrumental was that we have a lot of the network connections for artists. So, I mean, before we partnered with Art for Civil Discourse, we actually were doing murals with artists, and they wanted to make all of the art for free. And, that's not really what our ethos of our company is, or what the ethos of the project is. It's really was like, we want to support artists. And learning a lot about space politics in that too, is that as Black Lives Matter started and the protests started to shift, we didn't want to just give walls to people who are privileged enough to paint them, because I think that in itself is this inherent form of privilege. To be able to paint a wall for free with no money as an artist is an extreme privilege. And so, we were really adamant about paying artists and making sure that, people are at least compensated to some degree for their work.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Felix is asking if anyone's having audio problems. Can people hear okay? How are we doing? Okay, I think we'll keep going. Yeah.
Yeah, here's it.
Great. Well, we have some questions rolling in. Again, just like this is less of a presentation and more of a conversation. So we're going to kind of roll with what people are interested in. So even if you don't have a really specific question, but have a topic area, I was really kind of pushing the financial side, because Building 180, I think, had a really interesting approach to being able to move quickly and nimbly and distribute funds. But yeah, take us in any direction you want. And I've got a question from Steven. Where did my questions go?
Yeah, I was just curious if y'all have a map out of the mural locations.
We do. You can go to paintthevoid.org is the site, and there's a whole map section on the website.
Cool, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Someone else is asking, how has the process of finding artists during COVID and BLM happened? Has it been harder to find artists to work with?
Well, we had a lot of intake forms, so we created forms via Google that we distributed via the fundraising page and via our network, so that people who actually wanted to participate would sign up that way. Both for it kind of, it was a learning experience. At first, we weren't asking questions about gender or race or sexual orientation, and obviously people don't have to answer those questions. But in terms of finding artists wanting to support different marginalized communities and artist communities, those questions are really kind of crucial for us to understand who those people are and identify those people so that we can work with them. But yeah, we distributed just via forms and word of mouth, and then the selection process for artists were shortlisted, and also by the merit of their work, and also by the neighborhood proximity that they lived in. So we did our very best to try to match businesses with artists that were in their own neighborhoods. That was especially crucial in the beginning when, things were really scary and we didn't want to encourage any unnecessary travel. So yeah, most of the artists are pretty hyper local to where they are living, and that's was a big factor in how we put artists and businesses together.
I want to do a similar question for Rbhu to get you guys back in here. I know you extended your deadline, or you reopened the call for artists. believe was somewhat in light of what was happening with Black Lives Matter. Did that have an effect on your process?
Well, I wouldn't say that it really had an effect on our process, but we saw that there was a really strong need for artists. Artists needed support during this time of COVID, and a lot of the art projects being halted and shut down or paused indefinitely. And so when we did our call, we had, it was a month-long process to accept applications. And in that time, we received 80 applications. I think the hardest part was for us to go through all the applications and go through the projects and interview the artists and have face-to-face with everybody to really understand their stories, to really understand their art pieces, so that we knew that we would be helping the people that really needed it the most.
Just for those of you who don't know, the Rbhu Gives Back program it was a $30,000 engineering services offered to artists who do large-scale art sculptures. And after we went through the applications, as Selinda said, it was very difficult to choose the artists. It seemed like everyone was very affected. So we increased our budget to accommodate more people. Then we also offered 20% discount for everyone else, so we can help them still with their project, because most of the projects had specific funding, but they were on pause, and all the other projects that they had were canceled. So they could have used this fund to distribute it within their work.
Mm-hmm. But it was a very successful campaign. I'd say that we were able to connect with a lot of artists in this way that we hadn't had contact with before. We had people applying all over the world, actually. So it really showed us that there was a strong need for this, and because people were sharing it, and it got to the right people. So because of that, it's really something that we feel strongly about doing again in the future. We know that artists often are struggling regardless of whether COVID is happening or not. And so we really want to do our part to help as much as we can.
Also, Rbhu Gives Back, this is the second round of it. The first round was that there was a sculpture in LA, a coyote for immigrants that come to US, and the coyote had a lot of information for the immigrants, a lot of information that you would need as an immigrant to exist in US. So we did that project as pro bono, and this was the second time we activated it in a much larger scope, because the need was brought. And the reason we extended it, the deadline was also people were emailing us. They were like, hey, we missed the deadline. Is there any way we could apply? Or can we have more time? So that was also part of the reason that we extended it on the deadline. And yes, this is the first project that we did as Rbhu Gives Back, the coyote. And we're really proud of it. And we will be doing more of Rbhu Gives Back.
Mm-hmm. The projects that we did select for this round of Rbhu Gives Back are these ones right here. And so in the top left corner, this project is called Neighbors. It's 2 house-like structures that will be like a downtown for Terre Haute, Indiana, which is an area that's really struggling financially, economically, and health-wise. So we're just really proud to be giving back to that community. This piece is really cool because these structures actually pivot and they open up. And so we're going to be posting a video pretty soon about showing how this works, but it will create this kind of like downtown effect, or it's actually reprogrammable so that the city can have different types of events and they can change the way the structures look depending on what the event's needs are.
The artist is actually giving a lot of his time and energy to this, because the project has a very minimal funding. So we felt that our contribution here would be immense. So this is our #1 sort of the biggest grant that we gifted.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We run through a few more. I'd love to just get a little like overview.
Yeah.
Is it 9 projects?
There's 7 total. We're showing 6 because the 7th one is a relationship that we're building with Desert X, which is something we're really excited about as well.
And they're a nonprofit, Desert X, and we are really proud to be connected with them as well.
Awesome.
Yeah, and they've been hit hard by COVID, and they're just, what they're doing is so cool, bringing public art to the Coachella Valley, and so we're really proud to provide them some consulting services. But some of the other projects, we have this project right here is zoomed in because it's semi-confidential, but they were okay with us posting about this. It's going to be going, it's a piece for a NASA center. And then we
And we're all engineers, so NASA is like our mecca as nerds. So we were really excited to do something for NASA, especially because they were hit so hard. It was a art fabrication company, and again, like all their projects, as we talk to more and more artists and organizations, we realize that we all have been hit really hard, and we all need help. So that was another reason that this piece was chosen.
This piece on the right, the one it's like a giant, it is being done by a professor in Massachusetts, and he employs his students to help him with his pieces. It's also a very low budget project, and it's going to be going into their downtown area. This we have a Pegasus coming up into Santa Rosa. We're really working hard to bring more work to the public space, and just kind of have that kind of art presence in their downtown area.
Yeah, it's going to Redwood City downtown, and when we interviewed the art commissioning, if you will, he was the one who applied, not the artist, and he was saying that if we don't pretty much get the engineering in a pro bono fashion, we will not be able to pull this project. So we felt like, okay, if you're not involved, this project will not happen. So that was very exciting for us to be able to have such a high impact.
Awesome.
We're also working with James Moore, who he makes these aluminum kind of robot-looking structures. They're really cool, and this is going to be a series of them. He's a Black artist and does fantastic work in here in our home area in California, and so this piece is going to be, I think, like 7 different robots playing with each other. And it's a piece that's really about inclusivity of all beings.
Yeah, it's called Playing Together, and it shows the ball passing through. And that's why he has also a person in wheelchair, because inclusivity, we shouldn't forget that we all can play together and be, having fun. Without forgetting about each other.
Mm-hmm. And then lastly, we're working with Hibikozo, who is a big part of the Burning Man community. They have a couple projects going up, and they've been hit really hard by COVID. A lot of their projects have been canceled or postponed. So we're helping them with 2 projects. One is going in downtown Sacramento, which is what this image here on the right is for, and then there's going to be another one that looks a little bit different than this. It's going to be going to the U.S. Embassy in Turkey, and there isn't very much funding available for either of them, and we're happy to be a part of those projects.
Amazing.
Mm-hmm.
There's a few questions there. I'm not asking in order, so nobody panic. We've got you all down. But what college is the Massachusetts project affiliated with?
Let me find out.
And then we have just a few questions that I think are applicable to Building 180 and Rbhu, while you're looking that up, Selinda, how are you connected to the southeast region of the U.S. and the burner community here? And how can we be more connected to support our community and artists in the South?
That's a big one. I honestly have not done much work in the southeast of the U.S. I've done, we've helped with some Art Basel things, and I know there's a burner community in Miami. That being said, I think that there's a lot of tools that we can provide to start initiatives, similar to Paint the Void. And for instance, is something that it's really replicatable. And it's something that can be done really anywhere. For instance, myself and my teammates for Paint the Void mostly orchestrated all of the murals remotely. I actually have only seen a handful of them still to this day. When I was in quarantine, I was stuck in upstate New York. So yeah, I think that that's a really empowering thing to know that you can create art in your own city from afar. And, I'd be happy to tell you like the kind of the keys and the steps we took to do this, which ended up being to, connecting with our local communities. And it really took a lot of outreach, and there's some, finer details in terms of like legalities of insurance and paperwork and things that to protect yourselves. But it's super possible to do this elsewhere. And I'd be super happy to kind of share some of those tools with you.
There's a similar question. Is there any possibility?
Just really quick, that was the College of Charleston.
Awesome.
And I see the comment that it was the Deep South, and that's amazing, and definitely would love to continue to have a conversation. And also just I think that the importance of art in communities that don't see this type of art is super empowering and super impactful, and figuring out ways to show that there are artists of all different colors and sexual orientations and things like that is really amazing for people who are in those communities to see that there are artists that look like them or are like them making art, and that you can make art is something that's really amazing, and I think impactful, and figuring out ways to engage those communities with artists is something I'd love to explore.
I'm really interested just seeing all of the monuments being torn down. This is springing off of the Deep South comment. Do any of you have ideas on, or just thoughts on, what it takes to propose new sculptures, how to deal with bureaucracy, different governments, how to get your proposal docs in line? What are things that people would be wanting to respond to? What's going on right now? How might artists start to address those issues with their projects?
I mean, that's a great question. I think that getting their idea, so it's how do you get your idea or a sculpture placed through the city is a very complex process, as they typically do RFP or RFQ, request for proposal. And for that, you need to put together an application and your idea. And typically your idea means bringing your vision to a 3D rendering world, whatever that means, to you or your capability as an artist. So the process is a little bit intense, but ultimately, you fill out an application that required. They want to see your past work. They want to see your team. They want to see if you have thought about your engineering, and do you have someone in mind for that. So we have done some RFP and RFQs. If anyone is interested to know more or is passionate about placing a sculpture, please do reach out to us and talk to us. We can also be included in your team as the engineer to give more credibility in terms of the fact that we could you could pull off large scale art sculptures. So yeah, talk to us.
And kind of to piggyback on that too, is that, Building 180 does the production for those sculptures. We work really closely with Rbhu all the time as our engineers, and and then Building 180 handles the production side of it. So yeah, I mean, if you are wanting to make a big sculpture and need support in that way, that would be amazing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Don't be afraid though. All you need is a great
Yeah.
idea. We got your back.
Yeah, and every jurisdiction is different. So some will be more stringent than others. Some will be very lax about it, and depends on the size as well. So yeah, I mean, we'd be, all of us, I think, here on the board would be happy to chat with you more about it if you have an idea.
Awesome.
Mhm.
Another question is there a possibility to collaborate with South American artists some way?
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, we would love to. We'd love to collaborate with anybody who's interested in building artwork. So yeah, I'd love to hear what you have in mind. So feel free to reach out to us.
Also put your name in our sign-up sheet. I'm just curious if you're seeing, with so many pauses and cancellations, if you have any sense in your crystal balls from the field of, you know, what opportunities might be arising out of, you know, as a result of lots of these pauses.
That's a really good point, Joe. I think that I personally believe, or Rbhu believes that art sculptures are what's gonna heal people. We're all affected by this crisis, and we need more monumental structures to show that we're all together. We're all supporting each other. And when I look at art sculptures, there's something about it that it gives me the goosebumps, and it makes me feel like we're all connected. We are a community, and we bring everyone to. Nowadays, like when you're walking on the street, you're trying to avoid people, or everyone is wearing masks. There's that gap between people, and these art sculptures, I think, are the solution to bring people together, to bring that joy that we're still strong and standing.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think that there's definitely, I mean, I think that we have the same idea that art can be this really empowering thing. And I think people are starting to be more creative and start to realize like how important art is a role in our well-being. And, you know, particularly from quarantine, of realizing like, what would you have done without art in some form, and realizing like how important art is. And as we go back to work and go back to daily lives, like people are going to be fearful and scared and unsure, and you know, environments can be, you don't want your environment to be really sterile. So I think that there will be a rise of art coming back in terms of sculptures that are outside, and also like the way that we design interiors, and how inputting art in interiors to like make people feel some sense of safety and some sense of vibrancy in an otherwise like pretty scary world and a pretty sterile environment. And I think that I think that people will be, as much as they are able to put more stock into art, to kind of foster those new environments.
I'm totally fascinated about like how RFPs are going to evolve, or what conditions people are going to be looking for new commissions. So I'm excited to see what creativity comes in response to those RFPs, and I think there's going to be a lot of creativity involved in what's being asked of them as well.
Yeah, based on my understanding, the budget for the art, civic art, has been set for the following 2 years. So, but there is the fear that due to the reduced taxpayer, that we will be seeing less public art after 2 years. So I'm hoping that wouldn't be the case, but that's something that is on the horizon that we should all be conscious of.
Mm-hmm. Do you see any potential for a pivot, or like, you know, if you want to inspire some creativity now of what might be a creative pivot for developing public art that's not in the same vein of what traditional RFPs look like? That's a curveball. You don't have
That's
to.
a really good question. I think that what Burning Man has taught us is that we don't need anyone. We can all come together and do it ourselves, and we can fund it. We can. That's how I see it. I see that we do fundraising program, and we find public lands that are not occupied, and we do RFB and we review it ourselves and we all give back and make it happen.
Amazing. That's like the bumper sticker moment, Ali.
Doing
I'm
it.
also curious, like, I know we can't talk too much about Desert X, but that already seems like a model where someone, you know, invented their own wheel and they're going with it.
Yeah.
I'd like to see more of that happening across the country or in South America, whoever asked that question. We don't have many more coming in. I can keep asking my own unless you can put a hand up and we can also unmute you. This can go in any direction. We've got some badass folks from the field that want to talk about whatever you're interested in. It would be cool to do events based around the Burning Man guiding principles, sustaining ties to the question of global slavery and how that affects the environment. I agree, Alyssa. Roxy has a question for, what are some of your wild dreams, Rbhu, and Building 180 so that we can support you? Good one, Roxy.
Yeah, thank you. One of my art engineering fantasies is putting, well, first of all, having something that goes to the Olympics, something that I would be really excited about doing, but ultimately putting an art piece in space. So, you know, if you've got any way to do that, count us in, please.
When you were reviewing the application, me and Selinda were keep talking. I wish we had the power to do all these projects for free. I wish we had some billionaire that this is peanuts for him to give us some money so we can help all these artists. That was the dream that I had. What if we had an organization that could fund art fully? that would be my dream.
Yeah, being able to support all the artists. Yeah.
Anthony just said that he used to work for the Olympics. Feel free to unmute yourself if you've got more to share on that.
I'm going to come contact you, Anthony.
Yeah. What else?
Meredith, what about your wildest dreams?
Oh, my wildest dreams. I want to put more art into places where people don't have the opportunity to see it, and that would require a lot of buy-in from probably outside people who don't have any other interests other than the fact that they want to see other art. It's hard to put art into impoverished communities or places where that's not really taught or valued because there's not anyone to pay for it. So yeah, like Ali was saying, that would be great to have someone who just could fund it all. But I do think that there's a way to do that, which is proven by kind of fundraising, which is a harder route. But I think that that would be that's definitely one of my passions, is kind of revitalizing areas and kind of breathing some life into places that don't get to see art.
I love that. It reminds me of where Space Whale was put in downtown Reno, in an area that does have a lot of, there are a lot of homeless people in that area. And so when Space Whale was put up, or maybe it was Believe, there was some art pieces installed in this area, and there was this homeless guy who came to Matt Schultz and was just thanking him from the bottom of his heart that he was able to just see that every day. It was so meaningful and beautiful to that person. And I think that that's something that just sticks with me. And I, just to know that it can have such a strong effect on people out there.
Totally. We got another question that asked, and this could go for each of you, how would you characterize your politics? Are there clients you would not work with, themes you would not touch, or spaces you would not make art in?
It's a good question.
I think acceptance is important, but there are certain things that I think as a principle is important as well. This Black Lives Matter movement has taught us that you're either with us or you're against us. So if we do see racism, we would surely be speaking out, and we would not be working with those people. If they have art that is provoking in a sense that are not supporting this movement, I think that we would be certainly against that. So in terms of politics, do we accept everyone? Obviously, there's a differences, but we want to have a conversation. But in terms of there are some red lines that we will not pass, and racism is definitely one of them.
Yeah, I think we couldn't support any type of hateful type of art, but I would definitely be interested in having conversations with, and if there was anybody who was wanting to produce that. I've never encountered anybody that would, but if there was somebody, I would be interested in having conversations with them to try to.
Well, it was an interesting, this person that from Rbhu Gives Back, he contacted me, his project didn't get accepted. And he was saying that he wants to make it sculpture out of all these sculptures that's being torn down, a giant one that there's humans are coming out of this ashes. And then his idea was great until he said, I think all lives matter. And then that's when something clicked in me, and I had to have a really lengthy discussion with him. So yes, there are times I haven't encountered it so many times. There's been maybe once or twice that I've heard at least comments, which I don't think that he meant it the way he said it, but it's important. I think it's our job to educate people. If we hear something that doesn't sound right or it's not right, we should definitely get engaged and talk to people and not just say, hey, yeah, that guy say that, I don't really care. Again, you're either with us or against us kind of thing.
Meredith, do you have any thoughts on projects that you would accept or not?
Yeah, I think that there's definitely a line, as Ali is saying too, that we wouldn't cross. I have not encountered having to make that decision. I think that typically people who are wanting to fund and make art are usually a different type of person that supports artists and voices, and just a different type of person. So I think that they don't intrinsically go hand in hand together. I don't know exactly the lines. Of course, racism is a line that we would draw. I think that anyone who's like pro destruction of the environment is someone that we would wouldn't necessarily work with. We've done a lot of environmental art and teaching about plastic recycling and reusing waste and things like that. So it would be kind of a total 180 for us to work with someone who is preaching like someone's views that are alternate to that. But of course, I think that there are a variety of clients that we would not work with, and potentially artists that we wouldn't work with too.
Good question. I'm super excited for what we have ahead of us. I'm really appreciative to Rbhu and Building 180 and Christopher Breedlove for heading up this initiative. Sage, thank you so much for moderating the chat. And I'm really appreciative for all of you showing up. I can't wait to do more of these.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, thank you. Again, reach out if you have wild ideas and you want to chat with us. Feel free to reach out. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.